Many people wonder why remarriage after the age of 70 often brings more disappointment than genuine happiness. For those who have reached 70 and are contemplating tying the knot again, this text might be one of the most significant pieces they've read recently. Initially, a new marriage can appear as a second chance at personal well-being. However, it's important to note that for a significant number of older adults, it becomes a source of deep stress, tangible losses, and bitter regrets. The truth is, after reaching 70, the risks associated with remarriage change dramatically. What was once perceived as an expression of love and tenderness can swiftly transform into financial chaos, serious emotional upheaval, or even complex legal entanglements. This isn't about spreading negativity or cynicism, but rather about the necessity of wisdom, proper preparation, and robust protection for the life one has so diligently built. Perhaps there's external pressure, or simply loneliness and a sincere hope for companionship. These feelings are completely understandable. But before walking down the aisle again, it's crucial to understand the truths that too many older adults discover only when it's too late to change anything. 1. Financial vulnerability. At first glance, love at 70 seems like a true gift, someone to talk to, share meals with, and enjoy quiet, peaceful moments. However, many older adults don't realize that remarriage at this age can erode their financial safety net much faster than they might anticipate. Decades of savings, pensions, and home equity, all these achievements can be put at serious risk with just one signature, one step toward the altar. The reason isn't malicious intent from a new spouse, but rather that marriage legally intertwines partners' assets. If a new spouse has debts, significant medical bills, or even adult children from a previous marriage with certain expectations, you suddenly become an integral part of their financial world, regardless of your personal preferences. Many older individuals remarry, mistakenly believing they can keep their financial affairs entirely separate. However, the legal system doesn't always operate that way. After remarriage, your right to certain pension benefits, survivor benefits, or participation in health insurance programs might be revoked. For instance, there are known cases where a woman lost her deceased husband's Social Security benefits after remarrying, leading to a significant reduction in her monthly income, contrary to her expectations. Then there's the critical issue of inheritance. Perhaps you have adult children or even grandchildren to whom you plan to leave something. But remarriage, without proper legal planning, can redirect these assets to your new spouse or their family. Even with complete trust in a new partner, relationships can change, families often conflict, and promises are broken, and before you know it, your legacy slips through your fingers. The psychological harm from such financial loss is extremely severe. Older adults who feel financially insecure often experience deep feelings of helplessness, anxiety, and even shame. They might avoid frank conversations with their children about the situation due to embarrassment, or worse, try to hide the problem entirely. The independence they so diligently protected throughout their lives begins to crumble, and the marriage that was supposed to bring joy and comfort turns into a daily reminder of what was lost. Consider Ellen's story. She was 74 when she remarried a decent man she met in a church group. Both were widowed and found solace in each other's company. However, Ellen didn't know her new husband had outstanding medical debts and no savings. Within 2 years, she was using her own retirement fund to help him stay afloat, a fact that shocked her children. When they discovered she had revised her will under pressure, what began as genuine love turned into quiet, yet all-consuming financial panic. For people over 70, financial stability isn't just about having money. It's about peace of mind, preserving dignity, and the ability to live on your own terms. Remarriage can certainly offer emotional comfort and support, but its financial consequences can be truly staggering. If you've reached this point with a roof over your head, food in your kitchen, and a thoughtful plan for the future, take a deep breath before walking down the aisle again. Your heart might whisper yes, but it's crucial to ensure your wallet isn't screaming please no. 2. Health responsibility overload. When you remarry after 70, you're not just sharing your heart, you're also, whether you realize it or not, taking on someone else's health. And at this stage of life, health is no longer a secondary topic, it takes center stage in every day. You've likely spent your life caring for others, your children, a spouse, perhaps even aging parents. Now, when it's finally time to rest and focus on your own well-being, remarriage can thrust you back into a caregiver role. Let's be frank, by 70, most people are already actively managing their own doctor's visits, medications, and dietary changes. Perhaps you have knee arthritis, high blood pressure, or are managing diabetes. These are not minor issues, and they demand significant energy. When you invite another person into your daily life who might have even more complex medical needs, you suddenly become responsible not only for yourself but for them too. This means more doctor's appointments, more medications to manage, more emotional labor. It might start slowly. Perhaps your new spouse occasionally forgets to take their pills. Maybe they need a little help getting out of bed or lying down. But over time, this small assistance can transform into round-the-clock support, and that can exhaust you not only physically but emotionally. What was supposed to be enjoyable companionship begins to feel like a burden you never expected to carry. Many people don't talk about how such caregiving can actually shorten their own lifespan. Studies have convincingly shown that elderly caregivers often neglect their own health. They miss their own medical checkups, eat poorly, sleep less, and become socially isolated. Why? Because they're dedicating all their attention to someone else. And in doing so, their own body and mind quietly but steadily deteriorate. This is what happened to Patricia. She remarried at 76, and at first, it seemed like a dream come true. Her new husband was charming, sweet, and funny. But within a year, he suffered a minor stroke. Suddenly, Patricia found herself lifting him, bathing him, managing his physical therapy schedule, all while ignoring her own knee pain and worsening eyesight. By the time she sought help, she was exhausted, depressed, and on the verge of a breakdown. Her spirit was extinguished not by love, but by unspoken expectations and an unbearable burden. And here's the bitter truth: no matter how much we want to be there for someone, we cannot pour from an empty cup. At this stage of life, your energy is sacred. It needs to be preserved. Remarriage might seem like an invitation to happiness, but without clearly established boundaries, it can quietly morph into a long-term health responsibility you didn't sign up for. So before saying "I do" again, ask yourself, am I ready and able to take on another person's medical needs today, tomorrow, and every day after that? If there's even the slightest hesitation, it's crucial to listen to it. Your own well-being is just as important as anyone else's. In fact, right now, it might be more important than ever before. 3. Legal complexities. One of the most underestimated dangers of remarriage after 70 lies not in the emotional realm, but in the legal one. Many older adults don't realize that entering a new marriage later in life can create a complex web of financial and legal intricacies that can have long-lasting consequences, not only for themselves but also for their children and even grandchildren. Let's start with inheritance. You've likely spent your life building your legacy: a modest home, a pension, a savings account, perhaps even a few sentimental heirlooms of special value. You probably already have designated beneficiaries, a will written, and everything carefully planned. But the moment you remarry, this entire meticulously constructed system can change dramatically. In many states, a new spouse has legal rights to a significant portion of your estate, even if your will states otherwise. This means your children might receive a smaller share or worse, become embroiled in exhausting legal battles after your death. This isn't limited to inheritance alone. Remarriage can also significantly impact Social Security benefits, especially if you're receiving survivor benefits from a deceased spouse. Many women who were married for decades to their first husbands are entitled to survivor benefits, which can provide a stable and predictable income. But remarriage, even for companionship and support later in life, can reduce or completely eliminate these benefits. This is money you might have been counting on, suddenly gone due to a new marriage certificate. Then there are medical decisions and power of attorney. If something happens to you, an accident, a sudden illness, an emergency hospitalization, your new spouse might automatically become the legal decision-maker. Even if your adult children are better informed about your wishes or better prepared for such situations, they can be legally sidelined from the process. And if relations between your children and your new partner are strained, the consequences can be truly heartbreaking. 81-year-old Carol found herself in the middle of such a nightmare. She remarried a man she met at church, believing they would simply be companions in old age. But when she fell ill, her new husband gained the legal right to make medical decisions her daughter vehemently disagreed with. They ended up in court, fighting not only over medical choices, but also over who would inherit the home Carol wanted to pass on to her grandchildren. Carol later confessed that she thought she was finding comfort in her final years, but instead created a mess she never intended. Many older women, especially those who have worked hard to build a secure and stable life, don't want to think about legal aspects when it comes to love or loneliness. But it's precisely at such moments that clear and rational thinking is most important. Remarriage is not just a personal choice, it's a legal contract with far-reaching consequences. At this stage of life, clarity is your best friend. Asking difficult questions isn't unromantic, it's wisdom and an act of love, not only for yourself but also for the family that has walked alongside you for decades. If you value your legacy, your peace of mind, and your family's well-being, you should not underestimate the legal complexities that arise with remarriage. Because what seems like a new beginning can sometimes lead to unforeseen chaos. 4. Loss of personal freedom. After 70, the one thing you've truly earned more than money, titles, or recognition is your freedom. The freedom to wake up when you want, eat what you like, and spend your days on your own terms. You've spent decades caring for others, following rules, making sacrifices, and now it should be your time. But remarriage can quietly take that away, sometimes faster than you might imagine. When you marry young, compromise is an inherent part of the deal. Spouses build a life together, making decisions as a team. But by 70, your routines, habits, and preferences are well established. You've learned what brings you peace, what keeps you healthy, and what company you enjoy. Adding someone new to this carefully balanced rhythm can feel more like an intrusion than a pleasure. Let's be honest, at this age, most people are set in their ways, and there's no shame in that. You've earned it. But living with someone else again means giving up some of that structure. Perhaps your new partner likes the TV on all day, while you enjoy quiet mornings with the newspaper. Or they expect 3 full meals a day, while you're used to your light and simple routine. These differences might seem minor at first, but they quickly accumulate, eroding patience and turning a peaceful home into a place of subtle but constant tension. There's also the emotional labor that accompanies any close relationship: listening, adapting, explaining. You might find yourself spending more time managing emotions, coordinating activities, or even dealing with your partner's family issues than on what brings you joy. Suddenly, your hobbies take a back seat. Your alone time feels like a luxury you need to ask permission for. And the independence you cherished slips away inch by inch. Take the story of Florence, a 76-year-old widow who remarried after 5 years of solitude. At first, she enjoyed the companionship, shared dinners, walks in the park, someone to talk to in the evening. But as the months passed, she realized she had given up her quiet mornings, her solo vacations, and even control over the thermostat. She said she didn't mind compromising when she was younger. But now, every small change felt like a loss. This doesn't mean companionship is bad or that love disappears with age. But it does mean you need to ask yourself, are you truly ready to transition from freedom back to shared decision-making? Because at this stage, peace and personal space might be more valuable than partnership. Some might say love requires sacrifice, and perhaps it does. But at 70 and beyond, you've already made enough sacrifices. You deserve a relationship that respects your pace, your comfort, and your freedom, not one that demands you give it all up again. 5. Financial obligations. Remarriage after 70 can bring emotional companionship and support, but financially, it often opens the door to unexpected stress, confusion, and long-term vulnerability. When you're 30 or 40, merging lives and finances with someone else can make profound sense. At that age, people are building together, saving together, and planning for a future that still seems distant. But at 70, the rules of the game change dramatically. You're no longer building, you're protecting what you've earned over a lifetime. Remarriage can quietly dismantle decades of that painstaking work. Let's clarify one important thing: money in later life isn't just numbers in a bank account. It represents security, independence, the ability to choose. And when you remarry, your financial world doesn't just grow, it merges with your partner's. This means assets, social security benefits, pensions, and even debts can become shared, depending on how the marriage is legally structured. And if every detail isn't spelled out in writing beforehand, it's easy to lose control of it all. Here's where it gets complicated. Let's say your new spouse has children from a previous marriage. What happens to your money if something happens to you? Do your assets go to your own children or your partner's? Without proper legal protection, such as updated wills, prenuptial agreements, or clear inheritance plans, you could leave behind a legal mess that causes conflict among the very people you love most. And those conflicts can tear families apart. Or consider this scenario. You've worked your whole life to pay off your home mortgage and live comfortably on your retirement savings. But your new spouse brings with them outstanding debts or worse, financial habits that don't align with your own. Perhaps they want to lend money to their children. Perhaps they accumulate credit card debt. Suddenly, your savings are at risk. One signature, one shared account, and your carefully built financial foundation can start to crack. One man, 82-year-old Gerald, remarried after losing his first wife. He didn't think much about the financial side. He thought love would sort everything out, but within 2 years, he found himself paying his new wife's unpaid medical bills, supporting her adult son, and selling a vacation home he planned to leave to his own daughter. He said he just wanted companionship, but he ended up giving away half his life. This doesn't mean remarriage is always financially perilous, but it does mean that without clear planning, honest conversations, and protective legal measures, your finances could be at far greater risk than you realize. At 70, you don't have the same margin for error you once did. So, ask yourself, do I have the energy, clarity, and time to manage a complex financial merger? Am I ready to protect not only my heart but also my assets, my legacy, and the people I care about? If you feel even the slightest uncertainty, you owe it to yourself to pause, reflect, and get the necessary advice before making such a definitive decision. At this stage of life, you deserve to feel secure, not drained. Remarriage can be beautiful, but only if it doesn't come at the expense of your financial peace of mind. Concluding thoughts. By the time people reach 70 and beyond, they have weathered storms most younger individuals won't even know. They've experienced love and loss, sacrifices and celebrations, silence and laughter. And with each passing year, they begin to see life not in terms of what they can acquire, but in terms of what they no longer need to carry. This is why remarriage at this stage isn't just a matter of companionship, but a deeper personal decision about how one wants to spend the most precious years they have left. Perhaps some reading this are thinking, but I'm lonely. I want to grow old with someone. This is a perfectly valid and natural feeling. Human connection never stops being important. But the truth is, companionship doesn't have to come from another marriage. It can come from good friendships, meaningful family relationships, community, and from within yourself. The connection that nourishes the soul doesn't always come with a wedding ring. We've been conditioned to think that being coupled means being complete. But what if you are already whole? What if your time now is not about merging with someone else, but about returning to yourself? What if it's about finding joy in your own company, not having to explain yourself, not having to shrink or stretch to fit someone else's mold? That's not loneliness, that's liberation. Many older women who remarried later quietly admitted they missed their independence, their peace, their freedom. Some regretted not pausing to ask themselves what they truly wanted, rather than what society told them they should want. Because after 70, you owe nothing to anyone. You don't need to prove your worth through a partnership. Your value is undeniable, for you have walked a long life path and reached this moment. Therefore, before saying "I do" again, it's crucial to take a moment to say to yourself, "I deserve this." You rightfully deserve ease of being, genuine joy, complete rest, and the opportunity to live the life you desire. A new marriage can bring all of this, but it also might not. The key is for your choice to be based on deep trust in your own feelings and desires, not on inner insecurity.